Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another live stream. Now, today, Bitcoin has been dropping pretty excessively. Some are considering it to be a crash, but today we are going to be breaking down exactly what is happening in the markets. Can we expect lower prices and much, much more? In the meantime, make sure to destroy the like button and let me know if your altcoins are down, if your Bitcoin is down, and if you're worried about the current state of the market. But with that said, let's jump straight into the price action of the current altcoins that have seemed to dump pretty heavily as Bitcoin has also been crashing. Over here, we can see that the prices of altcoins have been dipping extensively. Do we need to be scared here? Is it okay? Is it a time to be buying the dip, as a lot of influencers are saying? I actually think a couple of statements are valid there. I want to jump into my analysis into Bitcoin first, and then cover which altcoins I'm actually deciding to buy as the current market continues to tumble towards the downside. But I'm seeing a lot of new faces here coming into the show, so thank you so much for tuning in. Again, destroy the like button, and let's get started with the Bitcoin technical analysis. But we need to look into a meme. Before we do jump into any analysis, it's important to go into a meme first and understand how the current market sentiment is feeling. Because I mean, if we look at Johnny Depp here, it's super funny. Mr. Depp, you're down 95%. Are you considering to sell? And he's like, no, sir, no, nah, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Even if altcoins are down on today, just in the past 24 hours, by 8%, 5%, 7.6%, Mr. Depp cannot sell. It is not possible. Let me know if the audio is fine and the video is fine as well. That would be very much appreciated. But jumping back into the analysis, I mean, we can see here that the price of Bitcoin is sitting at $60,900. Now, if you watched my previous Bitcoin update video, you would be familiar by the support level I discussed, which was at 65.1. And I said that if Bitcoin were to break towards the downside, then it can be expected to have a Bitcoin dumping lower downward. So that's pretty much what happened. I mean, we talked here that if you can go back and watch the video. If Bitcoin is to lose the 65.1 K level of support, then there isn't much of a place that Bitcoin can hold above the $60.7 thousand level, and Bitcoin has perfectly come down to that exact price target. But of course, you're wondering where the price will go from here and onwards, and we need to understand, if it is a buy the dip opportunity, or if it's a time to be getting more scared, or if it's a time to be panicking. Thank you, Stain, saying that the audio and video is fine. Very much appreciated. And guys and girls, let me know where you are tuning in from across the world. It would be very much important to know where my audience is tuning in from. And maybe one day I can visit you guys while I'm on summer vacation off from school. I'm currently in wonderful Bodrum. It's a beautiful scenery. It's a massive change from Dubai. So I really do appreciate being here while the weather is super nice. And in Dubai, I heard from Mr. Ram that it's absolutely boiling. So I'm super happy to be here. Now, the price of Bitcoin, as we speak, is currently trying to lose this support level. And in my opinion, if Bitcoin is not able to bounce from here, things can get a little bit concerning. MRI support, which is my friend Tone Vase's indicator, I love to use it. It's really awesome based off of the TD sequential. We had the MRI support. We seem to be breaking it. We're breaking our current white line of support. It's not considered to be broken until the daily time frame closure is in. There is still another 7 hours and 22 minutes for that to take place. So I'm not too concerned until we actually get that daily candle closure. On the 4 hourly time frame, I will jump into more important charts. The daily is important to see where support and resistances are. Currently, we're at the final echelon of support before Bitcoin exits this kind of consolidation phase that we've been in ever since March of this year. On the 4 hourly time frame, Bitcoin has had forming it was forming a falling wedge pattern. I got excited. I didn't talk about it on the channel because I wasn't sure exactly which way we were going to break. I know that a lot of things were pointing in a bullish direction while Bitcoin was at this level, but I wasn't 100% sure that we were going to have a break towards the upside. That is why I wanted to kind of not mention it on the channel, understand how we're performing going into Monday. But it turns out it was good that I did not mention it, because the price of Bitcoin is currently dropping from the falling wedge pattern. We were not able to go ahead and break upwards from it, even though that Bitcoin has been forming a bullish hidden divergence pattern on the 4 hourly time frame. It just happens to be that every single weekend, whenever Bitcoin enters into the weekend territory, we have very little volume, like we had on the 8th of June until, of course, Tuesday of the following week. Bitcoin had low volume. We had a beautiful bearish flag, and then boom, down goes Bitcoin. Similarly, a week later, Bitcoin was also not having too much volatility. Over the weekend, you have a consolidation pattern. You form a bear flag, and Bitcoin continues to trade lower. And now, finally, we had another bear flag forming for Bitcoin during that low volatility consolidation pattern, and then down goes Bitcoin. It's different than in a consolidation phase on the 4 hourly time frame because you can see that this was the weekend. Bitcoin wasn't doing too much, but because it was a consolidation range, you had important support. Bitcoin decided to go up rather than dropping towards the downside. So the thing that I kind of learned from this downward sloping phase that Bitcoin has been printing, if we are in a downwards trend and Bitcoin decides to consolidate, then you can assume that over the weekend going into Monday, Bitcoin can drop lower whilst we're in a downtrend because that is what's been happening essentially for the past 3 weeks consecutively. But there isn't much to say more on the 4 hourly time frame. So I want to go into into the 4 day time frame. It's a chart that I've been talking about for a very very long time on this channel, and that is the 4 day Consensio and the Bollinger Band chart. Now, last week on the Moon Show on Friday, I was able to host the guy who is essentially behind this 4 day time frame and the Consensio and the Bollinger Band combination. I've learned it from an analyst called Mark Wood, and I was able to host him on the Moon Show, which was super super great. I learned so much in that stream, and going into this chart, it's important because the Consensio, the total moving averages, the 3, 10, and the 30 SMAs have been breaking and crossing into each other in a bearish formation, whereas the Bollinger Bands at the same time have been squeezing. Now, why is this important? I love to use this moving average strategy because if you go back into the price history for Bitcoin, whenever we have a crossover between the 3 and 10, the white and yellow moving averages, you tend to have a topping out for Bitcoin on the 4 day time frame. This was the first half of 2021. The 3 and 10 cross into each other, and then down goes Bitcoin. 3 and 10 go into each other. At the second half of 2021, down goes Bitcoin. And once you get that final crossover into the 30 period moving average, that's like the final confirmation that, in the Bitcoin in the short term is going to go down lower. If we go back into what's happening to Bitcoin right now, not only did we get a 3 and 10 moving average crossover, we also got the 30 SMA crossover at the same time. This is what concerned me about Bitcoin. And 4 days ago, I made a video saying Bitcoin danger because these moving averages were crossing into each other. And that's the point where I usually take some profits off of my Bitcoin long positions. Learning this from the previous cycle, a lot of people were saying, "Are you crazy? Why are you taking profits?" But hey, look, once these moving averages cross into each other, it usually does happen. And of course, we were saying that Bitcoin will likely come down to $61,000 if you're in the Telegram community. Then I updated you guys over the weekend as well, as I was having the doubts about Bitcoin that we would potentially go towards the downside and hit the lower $61,000 bound. But what's happening? Are we going to dump lower, or is Bitcoin going to bounce up? Well, I think the closure of this current 4 day candle, which will be happening in 7 hours and 16 minutes, is super super important because if we get a candle that closes below the lower Bollinger Band, then it's going to activate this consolidation period that has been happening on the Bollinger Band, which suggests a massive move in a particular direction, depending on which band you decide to break. Now, every time that Bitcoin has had a massive squeeze on the Bollinger Bands, we have had significant moves depending on which where we break, either to the up or downside. Like, for example, if we can see here in this massive consolidation range, Bitcoin broke down, confirmed a breakdown of the lower Bollinger Band on the 5th of May, 2022. Following a breakdown, Bitcoin decided to go much, much lower. And you can make the argument that right here, on the 5th of August of 2021, Bitcoin broke out of the upper Bollinger Band and then higher moves towards the upside followed straight after. So if Bitcoin does the same thing here, if we break down, confirm a breakdown from this lower Bollinger Band, then I think it could be game over in the short term, right? We just need to hold this level here, hold the neckline of this double top, which currently sits at approximately 60 to 59,000 dollars to be exact. That is going to be at 61.2. If Bitcoin is able to hold that neckline, then I think we can have a fake out double top just like we did last year, exactly 1 year ago here, because Bitcoin held the support and then boom, we decided to continue towards the upside. So it's all going to be dependent on if Bitcoin can hold or it cannot hold exactly where we're sitting at today. If we can't and we decide to go lower, that's when things get scary, right? If we cannot hold it and we break down the lower Bollinger Band, then essentially you're looking at $52,000 to $53,000 as your first line of support, and then down goes to $47,000. So you need to understand the importance of this lower Bollinger Band. If we lose it, then I am personally expecting anywhere between 53 to $47,000, which wouldn't be scary in hindsight because you got to remember in bull markets we can do that. We can dump by 40% in a bull market, but we would still be holding up the trend. It's nothing to be very, very scared of. So if that does happen, if you have any capital left whatsoever, then it's just your final buy the dip opportunity. And especially if we go down to 47K, that's such a massive level of support. You can see here back in March of 2022, Bitcoin tested it and boom, down goes Bitcoin. We found support here, and once we broke down from it, I mean, Bitcoin crashed from 47 down to $33,000. And in the first half of 2021, you can see Bitcoin testing it and then moving back up to creating new all-time highs in a matter of weeks. So even if we dump from, Bitcoin dump from 58 down to 47, right in this 2 4-day candles, just a couple of days after, a couple of weeks after, Bitcoin was able to make it back towards the upside. So even if we do have this 40% correction from the local highs, it should be okay. It's just a matter of dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and not being fearful and being weak handed. Of course, if you are in a Bitcoin long position, then you cannot say the same thing. You cannot say the same thing because if you're in a Bitcoin long position, then you will basically get liquidated. So, in my personal trade, I am not. I am waiting for this current bounce. If we don't get the bounce, then I am closing my Bitcoin long position. A part of it because we did start buying right over here when we were breaking $43,000 from this inverse head and shoulders pattern. So if you've been watching CryptoKid for that long period of a time, then a massive shout out to you. That's when we started to buy into our Bitcoin long positions. And if Bitcoin does start to correct from this lower Bollinger Band, I will be taking small profits and going to add, I will put more into my longs if Bitcoin decides to bounce down from this range. If we decide to bounce up from here, then I think a Bitcoin ascending triangle can still be in play. Remember, we have another 6 days and 8 hours for this weekly candle to be closing. Yes, we are currently below the support line of this ascending triangle. It looks like we have broken it down. I mean, it would be fair to say that we have broken down from this ascending triangle, and the target would initially be at the $50,000 level, which is exactly in between of 47 to $53,000. I think it makes perfect sense if Bitcoin were to retest at 50.1K as a target for this breakdown from the ascending triangle. I just have one last hope here, and that is the 21 EMA. Historically speaking, whenever Bitcoin retested the 21 EMA, you can see we did it almost here. We did it back then in October of 2023. We also retested it in the on the 12th of June of 2023, exactly, almost exactly a year ago. Down. So if you had bought Bitcoin there, if you had bought Bitcoin there, then it would have been a perfect buy the dip opportunity. If you shorted Bitcoin when we retested it in a bearish way on the 27th of December in 2021, then it would have also been a perfect opportunity to enter into a short position. If you had bought there, also would have been good. So overall, the 21 EMA has been a very good kind of sell or buy kind of moving average for Bitcoin that works. You have tons of different moving averages out there, but I think the 21 EMA on the weekly time frame is probably one of the best. So if we break down from here with a confirmation and the 21 EMA decides to cross downwards, then okay, I'm going to be concerned. We just have that kind of final thing keeping me in the bull zone. If we break down, then I think that correction to those 50K regions could be possible. But if not, then if we bounce from here, perfect. We're back 100% into bull mode. But I just need to quick sip of water. And before we get into the comparison chart between the S&P, gold, and the dollar, because people are like, oh my God, right? Stocks are going up. Why isn't Bitcoin following the same thing? Bitcoin should be doing the same thing as the stock market. Why are we not following it? And I will get into that very shortly. It is a very interesting topic to discuss, but I need to check the chat in the meantime and understand if the mic is good, if everything is fine, because I am trying a different setup here. So I hope everything is working okay. Damn, I see Andy. Hey, my man, where are you? Have not seen in a bit. Much love. Thank you so much, Andy. I mean, I've been in Dubai for the past 2-3 months, but it's just ever since Token. I don't know, bro. You're the elder one. You should be coming to the office and I don't know. I am the younger one. You are the older one. So technically, it's on you. It's not on me. But hey, it's okay. Still, much love, amigo. Nice to see you in the chat. People are talking about the current Mount Gox situation, and I think it's a very, very valid news information to get into. Valid in a sense that I need to address it, but in terms of actual impact on price, I don't think it does have such a significant impact on price action. But I will cover it because it is something trending currently on Twitter. And guys and girls, if you're just tuning into the stream, make sure to destroy that like button, subscribe if you're not a crypto kid already, and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any time-sensitive Bitcoin analysis. Now, going into the comparison chart between gold, the S&P, the value of the dollar, which is the Dixie, and Bitcoin, how do they correlate? Is Bitcoin a risk on asset? Is it a risk off asset? How are we supposed to trade it? And I think it's a very valid question because I can't speak. Gold has essentially been going up, right? It's been following exactly what Bitcoin has been doing. If you look at gold, we had lows in October of 2022. Then eventually gold starts trading upwards, and then Bitcoin kind of follows that right over here. And then you go into another move up and you consolidate. And until gold hits November of 2023, we don't do too much, but from that point onwards, gold just shoots towards the upside. You can see the exact same thing happening on Bitcoin. And that's a great thing because it means that Bitcoin is trading as a risk off asset because gold is an inflationary hedge. People buy gold to hedge themselves against inflation, to hedge themselves against political uncertainty. And Bitcoin trading with gold is a great thing because it means that Bitcoin is becoming a risk off asset as it was intended to be in its initial creation in 2009 and after the 2008 financial crisis. I need to drink some more Bitcoin. I don't need to drink some more Bitcoin, but I need to drink some more water because I have been talking fast. I think I need to tune it down a little bit. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in all across the world. I couldn't check the comments. We need to get a producer. If you are a producer and you have experience in YouTube with crypto, then let me know. Go to the email down in the description because I do need a producer to put all the comments up and everything up. Right now, it's just a one-man show. And it's pretty hard to manage when you are alone. So I was saying gold and Bitcoin have a similar correlation. That is a great thing. Bitcoin is becoming a risk-off asset. We want that. But if we look at Bitcoin, then we're still pretty much inversely correlated with the value of the dollar, and the dollar has been on the increase because of political uncertainty. People tend to park their money into the dollar during times of political uncertainty as well, like gold. And now that interest rates are at a massive, massive high of 5.5 basis points or 5.5%, then people are incentivized to keep their money in the dollar to get advantage of that high yield. But as soon as the Fed starts to pivot, that is going to likely take place either in July or September, then people will start taking their money out of the dollar and then putting into risk off assets or risk on assets such as Bitcoin, right, or the stock market. But now I'm saying that Bitcoin is a risk on asset. What's the contradiction here? Well, here's the thing, right? Bitcoin is still inversely correlated with the dollar, but it also follows gold. But strangely, it does a similar thing with the S&P 500 as well. But with the S&P, we only tend to follow it now when it goes down. When the S&P goes down, then Bitcoin tends to do the same thing, right? So if we see a small decline on the S&P, we tend to decline. When it goes up, we don't tend to go up anymore because if that was the case, then Bitcoin would have continued to rally right here instead of dumping back down. So what am I trying to get? What am I getting at this current point? Because I know some of you are pretty confused. Well, I'm trying to say that in September, most likely September, when we do get a rate cut, the value of the dollar will decrease because people are not getting as much returns as they would if they kept their money in a bank holding US dollars and getting that 5%, 5.5% interest. So they will move their money either in the stock market or into Bitcoin to get a higher yield. And I personally expect some more political tension to be rising. And because Bitcoin is considered a risk off asset, if we compare it to gold and its fundamental values, then Bitcoin, like we did a couple of months ago during political tensions, I think Bitcoin will go up as well at the same time. So overall, I think it looks pretty bullish for Bitcoin in the macro, but in the short term, it is possible that we dump down to 47 or 53K if we break where we are currently. Even if that happens, that should be okay for Bitcoin. That's okay. It's still like we are in a bull market. If you compare it to how much we've gone up in the past 365 days, this crash is completely irrelevant. Now, talking about the dollar, we saw that BRICS must be prepared. Russia said that BRICS must be prepared for the collapse of the US dollar. Now, I don't think it's going to be happening that soon. I think it will happen eventually, maybe towards 2027 when BRICS develop their own currency. But I don't think the value of the dollar will essentially collapse until a couple of more years. And when that does happen, then I think Bitcoin will shoot to a million, $10 million. And we need to be prepared for that today by DCAing, in my opinion, and buying up as much Bitcoin as possible. And really, a Bitcoin down to 50 or 47K would not be a bad thing whatsoever. It's just going to give us more opportunity to be buying the dip and accumulating on Bitcoin. So I think it's okay, right? I think it's okay. If you are in a long position, then you probably need to be careful of the lower Bollinger Band, like I said. But in the meantime, I think Bitcoin accumulation right here, all the way down to 47K for the long term, is not a bad idea from where I am sitting. And if we look at the monthly cycle for Bitcoin, I mean, we need to understand that Bitcoin is still in a parabola. And every time that Bitcoin breaks firmly above the prior all time high created, we just tend to go up and up and up, right? I don't think it's going to be any different today. I don't think that Bitcoin is going to do something completely different in this cycle. I think the same thing, the same structure is going to be happening. We just need to be a bit patient here. Wait for Bitcoin to have a confirmation, a strong confirmation on the monthly time frame above 2021's all-time high, and then I think we're set to go a lot higher into the 85 and $90,000 regions. But it's just going to take time. You need to zoom out and focus that Bitcoin has gone up so much in a short amount of time. So a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a correction is going to be helpful. Just don't lose your sentiment. Just don't lose your bullishness, because if you do lose it, then that's going to destroy your entire crypto journey the moment you start falling for small price corrections and price movements towards the upside. Read the Bitcoin standard, understand what you're investing in, and you're not going to lose your conviction into crypto. I think that is the most important thing that you can gain while the price is consolidating or is dropping a little bit downward. So let me just drink some water here again, and I'll have a look at the comments, guys and girls. We're at 500 viewers, so I think if we can go ahead and hit um, at least 100 likes on the stream, that would mean the world to me. It would be fantastic if we can get 100 likes on this stream. Now, I want to cover the S&P 500. The S&P 500. We're currently seeing a move towards the upside on the S&P, but I am a little bit concerned because this move up on the S&P 500 index is mostly fueled by Nvidia. Right? If we go to a lot of the stocks in the S&P, most of them are consolidating. If you go to Apple, it's currently dropping in price action. The only thing with energy companies that is causing the pump on the S&P 500 is actually Nvidia, the graphics card manufacturer. And Nvidia is currently seeing a bit of a correction here, and we have a massive bearish divergence accompanied by an MRI top. I think that Nvidia is going to correct pretty hardly here, and that should affect the S&P in a strong way. We have a bearish divergence on the S&P as well, and I think that will cause the S&P to have a little bit of a drop off. And like I said, if the S&P drops, then Bitcoin gets the heavier side of it, so it will probably cause a correction down to 53K if the S&P 500 decides to top out here in a local structure. We saw that a lot of dumb money, as Game of Trades likes to call it on Twitter, has entered the S&P and is currently peaking out. Every time we see this dumb money, or he refers to retail traders, enter into the S&P and become bullish about the S&P, you see consumer confidence increasing, you have a topping out, and eventually the S&P enters into a bear market. Currently, we are still curving towards the upside, but eventually, if we start curving downwards, that's the point to be scared about the entire index overall. But I am bullish on one stock specifically, and that is Coinbase. I'm pretty bullish on Coinbase because they're going to be making so much money with the Ethereum ETFs, with Bitcoin ETFs over the long run. So I think that if you do, I personally want to buy a lot of Coinbase shares because I think over time, with their custodian fees, they're going to be accumulating so much revenue, hundreds of millions of dollars, and I think in the future that is going to compile and become larger. Now, I know that all of you are wondering currently, why didn't I just cash out for a Toyota? Why couldn't I have just cashed out my crypto for a Toyota? Because 2 weeks ago, with our meme coins, we could have easily afforded a Toyota Corolla, but we decided not to do that. We decided to hold on to our bags, just like Johnny Depp here, just like Johnny Depp. We were not able to buy our Toyota. We could have done that, but we decided not to because we have conviction. We are diamond hands, and I think over time our bags will continue to increase. Now, this is the kind of news story that everybody has been wondering about. This is the breaking news section of our live stream. Mt. Gox said that they'll start Bitcoin and BCH repayments in July. You need to understand that this news about Mt. Gox has been a recurring FUD over and over and over and over. Like, if you've been in the crypto cycle for at least two different cycles, so at least 8 years or even 6 or 5 years, you know that Mt. Gox has been a topic that has been popping out in media for a very long time. We even got it back in January of this year. We got it back in October of last year. Sorry, September of last year. People were scared that Mt. Gox is going to dump their Bitcoin. Why are they scared? Because they have like 5 or 6 billion, if I'm not wrong, in Bitcoin holdings, and essentially, if they repay that back to customers, people are scared that they will sell their Bitcoin because essentially, right, they are up a lot on their initial investment, and if they do sell it into the market, then Bitcoin's price would be dropping rapidly towards the downside. Will that happen? I mean, honestly, if you are up like 200x or 100x on your Bitcoin investment, you will probably decide to take profit. But I mean, these people are such OGs that most of them will probably believe in Bitcoin in the long term and not decide to sell it. Of course, that is massive, massive speculation. They could be weak hands, and they could be selling their Bitcoin as soon as they get access to it. I don't know, right? I can't speak. I honestly don't know. I think it will be dependent on multiple different factors. We are in a recession, a cost of living crisis, so they may decide to sell their Bitcoin to take some profit, provide for their family, etc. We have no clue. If they do, it will impact the market. If they don't, which we need to hope for and pray for, then everything will continue to be the same. Now, Ethereum's S1s came in on Friday, like we spoke about. I mentioned on the Moon Show that, the S1s will be coming in on Friday. They have their deadline for Friday. So far, we have Bitwise, Fidelity, Van Eck, Franklin, 21 Shares, Grayscale, and BlackRock. And BlackRock has started to seed in to their Ethereum ETF. It was not much. I expected it to be more. They only put in $10 million, similar to what they did for their Bitcoin ETF, which was also $10 million, but Bitwise put 200 million, Hashtags put 2.8, and Wisdom Tree put 2.5 million into their Bitcoin ETF. If we look at Ethereum, so far, it's only been 10 million from BlackRock, and no other issuer actually decided to seed into their Ethereum ETF. The fees are pretty competitive. They're like 20 basis points. So let's see what BlackRock comes up with. We don't know the number that BlackRock will be having, but the launch of the Ethereum ETF should be coming in approximately 1 to 2 weeks. And let's see how that works out. I think Ethereum will probably drop severely, especially if the price action continues to be bearish, because Grayscale holds like $11.1 billion worth of Ethereum, and in a market where we're correcting, I don't think everybody else will be printing enough inflows to cover the outflows that will come from Grayscale's Ethereum Trust ETF. So be careful. Just something to put out there. Remember, from if somebody sells their Grayscale, I think there's like a 30-day lockup period where they cannot transfer it to a different ETF. So just keep that in mind. I am bearish on Ethereum in the midterm. This was cool. Michael Dell decided to post about Bitcoin. In fact, he posted about a cookie monster eating some Bitcoins. And then after that, he said scarcity creates value. And Michael Saylor said Bitcoin is digital scarcity, and he reposted it. Now, people are bullish about that because, well, Dell has $6 billion in cash. They have $6 billion in cash, and Michael Dell has an individual net worth of over $100 billion. And, even back in 2014, they accepted a payment of 85 Bitcoin for a server order. So people are bullish that Michael Dell could soon decide to accumulate some Bitcoin, add it to their balance sheet because they do have a large cash reserve. Of course, nothing is confirmed at this point in time, but if it is, then it would be a boost for Bitcoin in the short term. It would be some bullish news to the current bearish stance that we have on the market. Now, pretty bearish news overall is that Ronaldinho, one of the best football players ever, unfortunately said that it's time for crypto to go mainstream. Who's with me? And when you see crypto influencers or influencers or celebrities that are not associated with crypto start to post these things, it's essentially not a good sign. And eventually Bitcoin does tend to correct when such large names get paid a lot of money to promote cryptocurrencies, even if they're out of money themselves personally, they want to raise some money, they decide to promote bad projects, and they go into crypto. That is usually not a good sign. It is a massive top indicator. And although I have so much respect for Ronaldinho's football skills, he has been involved in some bad projects in crypto, and that's why he did get a community post over here on Twitter. So I would be careful if any, D-list celebrity or C-list celebrity decides to post about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. All of a sudden, it is something to be scared of. Now, I'm also scared about the ETF flows because the massive dump has been taking place today. So today's ETF flow data will be reported tomorrow or the day after. So essentially, expect like $200 to $400 million to be coming out from the Bitcoin ETFs over the next 24 to 48 hours. It will probably be a bit more than that, and that will add to the bearishness of the market. The PCE data will be announced this week. This is the Fed's preferred inflation metric. If we get a lower PCE reading, it will be bullish news because they will reduce interest rates probably going into September. And if they do so, Fed will pivot and people will shift their assets, hopefully, into Bitcoin to get a higher yield. That would be super, super bullish. The current forecast is 2.7% by TE, so Trading Economics, and the consensus is 2.6%. 0.2% below the current inflation rate. If that comes out to be true, it would be super, super bullish for us. But remember, it is not an accurate representation of actual inflation because the PCE data, the CPI data, they all look at the percentage change of inflation over the past year. So you're looking at the percentage change of inflation over the past year. What does that mean? Well, it means that, compared to the inflation data last year, there's only been a 2.8% change. So if you look at the PCE data over, since the 1960s, then you're looking at this 12-month period right there at the very edge and the percentage change of inflation right there. You're not looking at the overall inflation increase. No, you're looking at the percentage change of inflation over the past 12 months. So it's not an accurate indicator of inflation. Yes, this thing is coming down, but it's not showing you the overall price inflation across goods and services and how costly it is to currently actually live in the world. You can see a massive jump since 2020. Half of the money has been printed ever since 2020. It's not looking good if you look at it from that macro picture. And to end off this live stream before we go into the Q&A, Biden and Trump will be debating on Thursday. There's going to be a massive political debate. Expect some mentions of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, potentially from the Republican Party, and that could spike up crypto prices in the short term. So Thursday is a day to be watching out for. And I'll just put the Bitcoin price action while we do some Q&A together. But cheers, that was the Bitcoin update on what's been happening over the past few hours. But guys, if you do smash up the like button, that would be very much appreciated. I'm going over your comments to get a feel of what you are currently asking for. Uh, Guys, let's get the likes to 150. We smashed 108 likes. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. Let's see if we can get to 150 likes. That would be very much appreciated. Let's do a Q&A. Cisco Kid, thank you so much for moderating the chat. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you. It's perfect. Anthony bought 0.02 Bitcoin on that red candle. Well, I hope I hope you won't regret it. I personally wouldn't, because I think if you hold it for the next 4 years, then mathematically you will actually be in profit. If you buy and hold Bitcoin for a period of 4 years, then you will mathematically, statistically, be in profit. I like how you pronounce data. Thanks, thanks. If we break below 55, then I would panic. Well, I personally think so. I mean, no. I mean, breaking down to $55,000 essentially means that you would be coming down to 53 or $52,000. So essentially, yes, I would be careful with that. But guys and girls, I will be ending off the stream there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great day. If you've been watching this previously, then you can go to the timestamps down in the description to skip to the parts that you are interested in. And I will be updating you on the Telegram channel and on this channel at the same time. So subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll be seeing you all very, very shortly. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.